Baltic Brand Talks, podcast about all things creative and trending. Hello, dear Baltic Brand Talks listeners. As you might be used to it by now, I'm Lelde from Wit Consulting. Still strategy director, still one of the co-hosts of the podcast. No new year, new me shenanigans. Still doing what I enjoy immensely. Let's kick it off with my first interview of the year, and it's with a sparkling, creative, and full of life personality, Magnús Magnússon, who is a partner at Peel Agency and one of the creative directors behind the Promote Iceland campaigns. Our conversation had a very dynamic flow. With no apparent introduction, we jumped right into his work, mainly with Iceland. You can find links to all the campaigns mentioned in the episode description below. Feel free to go check them out. Whether it's before listening or after listening, they are worth it. And in the conversation, we talked about promoting a country at a time when travel isn't possible, about nuances of humor in advertising, about what makes campaigns viral and appealing not only to the creatives and client, but also to the government, key audiences, and media. We had some laughs, some insights, and even some revelations. To be honest, this was one of my favorite interviews so far, and I hope you'll enjoy it as much as I did. With no further comments from my side, let's dive into it. Hey everyone on Baltic Brand Talks podcast. Today's a special day. We are joined by Magnús Magnússon. Hey.
Hey, nice to be here.
Very excited to have you here. And you are a partner at Peel, and might I not say the whole agency name?
It's fine. It's just ad agency in Icelandic, so kind of you can just call it Peel ad agency, but it's called Auglýsingastofa. But it's
impossible to pronounce.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I saw you as a keynote at Baltic Brand Forum this year, and I have to say that was one of my highlights. It was very funny, it was insightful, and it was very straight to the point. And right when I was listening to it, I just knew that someday I just have to have you on our podcast, and I'm so happy that you could accept. And while we were talking, you said that you are working on a political campaign.
Yeah. So there was and by the way, thank you so much for your kind words. So we were working for one of the political parties here in Iceland. So the government was they held an election 1 year before they had planned because they couldn't work together. So there was a new election, I think almost 2 or 3 weeks ago that it finished, and now the new government is forming, so we have no idea who is going to be running Iceland for the next 4 years, but it looks like there's going to be 3 parties working together.
And how did your work go down?
So everybody was so the marketing part was really good. We were really happy with it, but it was a political party that was or is struggling a bit, so it wasn't great for them. But they were one of the parties that actually were in the government when it imploded, if you say that. And all of them were way worse than they were before. But one of them was actually they aren't in the government anymore. They had such a bad election, so thankfully that wasn't our party. So,
You like to take on challenging projects?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the keys for us, and I think it's also really important for us to participate in and also just projects that we believe in a way. So we are we try to choose our clients quite not only for the dollar signs, but also if we need to resonate in somehow with them, and the easy part is definitely promoting Iceland, but that's easy and doing but we like to pick sites that are more environmentally friendly and try to be true to our core here, also when we pick or when we decide who we work with.
Yeah, aligning with your values.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, and just to set the overall tone also for our listeners, could you please expand a bit on your background and how did you got to be the partner at Peel?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm 41 years old now, and I started working in marketing in 2007 for a large telecommunication company here in Iceland. And I worked with them for a few years while I was studying also. And in 2013, I moved from kind of that side of marketing, from the client side, and I moved to an agency called Íslenska, which just means like Icelandic. So it was the Icelandic ad agency. So 2013, I moved there, and that used to be the biggest agency here in Iceland, but it's actually gone bankrupt now. It got bankrupt, I think, 2 years after I left there. Not because I left, but kind of it was they were going down in a way, and their biggest client was Icelandair and Visit Iceland. So I started working with Visit Iceland in 2013, just like at that agency. And then 2018, we had me and my partner today, we got the project from Íslenska Ad Agency to revamp it, think about more kind of different ways to approach marketing and think more digital. And in the end, we decided that it was we couldn't really, we couldn't really move them the way that we wanted the marketing agency to move. So we decided to create our own, and that was in 2018. And then 2020, we actually participated in the tender process for Visit Iceland, and that was like a government project that they set up because of COVID, because of course everything was in lockdown, and the government really needed to get people to travel again to Iceland, and we had no idea what was going to happen. So we actually participated there. We were a really small agency, and nobody really believed that we could do this, but we actually partnered up with MSC Saatchi, and that's been a huge benefit for us. And so we have a great international partner, and we have then the Icelandic knowledge and the experience of promoting for tourism, and it was a great partnership right from the get-go, even though because of COVID we couldn't even meet for I think first 1.5 years or something like that. But it it forced us, the situation that we were going through, it forced us to think about collaboration differently. And we started we moved to Zoom meetings. It was just like the new norm. So that is definitely helping us now also to to have a team in the US and UK and all over the world. And it's normal to work now like with smaller agencies all over the world, instead of how it used to be you had to work with more local agencies.
Mm-hmm. Do you see any other shifts in the work of agencies during the past years?
I think collaboration is getting way more, like I was saying. I think we moved quite a lot into digital, and everybody was doing social, and everybody was trying to do the same thing in a way. And I think in a lot of ways we forgot about the core and the brand value in a way. So we decided to, like, and I'm not saying us, like, but in the marketing world, we changed a little bit our structure and tried to just create a lot of content. We needed to create content for everything, for all platforms, and we were just creating more and more and more. So all these different like pop-ups were built, and we were just doing a lot of, in a way, in my opinion, bad material for our clients, where we were forgetting the core and just trying to run after target audience where they were. And so that's definitely something moving back. I think that we're trying to build, at least for us, we try to build fewer campaigns that actually resonate with people instead of, and then kind of having like other resources doing like the day-to-day, what we call like evergreen content. But we are definitely focused more on trying to make some noise that goes above just the typical marketing. So like definitely our most famous work is kind of for Visit Iceland, and kind of when we think about creative ideas, if we don't feel it's going to be PR worthy, then we just throw the idea away, even though it's going to be a beautiful video of waterfalls and puffins and stuff like that. It's not enough because we can't afford to buy all the views or all the impressions. So we need to do something that has more teeth to it or kind of bite to it. And yeah, that's definitely, I think we're getting more and more into that, kind of similar to everything was supposed to go viral like a few years ago, and kind of it was quite often that they forgot it needed to go viral for the right reason or for the cause of the company that they wanted to promote. But I think we're getting better and better at doing that, kind of just as like a industry.
Yeah, and if we look at the work that you have done, and if we look at the results, that it's very, very visible that your campaigns gain a lot of media attention, and that is also something that you talked about. Do you have like some kind of observations for the recipe, for the secret sauce, for the getting media attention, or maybe some check boxes that must be checked in your opinion?
Yeah, I think kind of for us at least, kind of I think kind of understanding the client and having kind of good collaboration with the client is really important, just to understand kind of the tone of voice that you're willing to stand for, and kind of where you can actually be different than the rest. Because if you're doing the same as everybody else, if you're doing like, even though it's beautiful and even though you have like a really famous actor or actress or whatever, it doesn't really stand out in the way that we want it to. So kind of the good thing is that we've been working with this client since 2013, and kind of we know them really well, and kind of they trust us really well. And I think kind of we're allowed to have stupid ideas as long as it fits kind of the narrative of kind of what we're trying to say. And Iceland has been doing a lot of work for many years to make sure that they know who they are, who they want to be kind of in marketing, and what they want to represent. So kind of even though kind of we have like stupid ideas, and I see like there's like this here, this speaker that's yeah. So kind of we created that idea because we felt that kind of the rest of the world needed to kind of let out their frustrations, and we wanted to look at how Iceland could actually help in that way. So it wasn't kind of we weren't thinking about, okay, what's the key message that we want to bring out. It was more, okay, what's the world needing and what can we actually offer. And in the end, we also really needed to be respectful to Iceland, because this kind of to having speakers and yelling out in Iceland, it's an awful idea if you do it kind of for real, but you need to feel that it's true, and kind of we need to have like some truth to the story. So we actually built all of these things, but kind of this is just like a box that is built like a speaker. This isn't the real speaker. We had like a tiny one kind of that was actually running the show. But yeah, but true to your values. And for us, we always had like a PR person working with us. So we had like we built up maybe 3 ideas that we were comfortable with, and we had like believe in. And then we showed that to like a PR person, asked for their opinion, getting kind of so we always tried to think about the way that we want to represent it, not only for the client but also for media. And before we showed the client anything, we had like understanding of how we wanted to present it to the media, and kind of the key kind of sentences for it. And we also always had to have some truth to it. So it couldn't be just something funny. So like there's also like here, I'm not sure if you can see, of course, but we have some we built like real adventure boots, and it needed to be true. So we actually had to do it, and it needed to be like vegan leather instead of normal leather, because that's something that Iceland wanted to be more sustainable and so we need to think this through the whole way.
Mm. And also, I think what ties it all together is this true, also in the sense of human emotions.
Yeah, definitely. And the core was also, we felt that we had this personal sustainability concept, was that we felt that the world was actually in need for some kind of personal, sustainability, but it was people who were just having an awful time, and they didn't want the rest of the world or companies trying to tell you, oh, everything is going to be great if you come to Iceland, or buy this product and your life will be awesome. It was more, we needed to be more human, and we needed to be able to address the awful things, but trying to give something back, so you would actually feel better after you saw our message, instead of just trying to sell Iceland right away.
Mm. Earlier on, you mentioned that you have small agency. What is small in
Yeah.
Iceland?
So small in Iceland is really small. So I mean, right now we're just two here in the office, but we're the core is, well, let's say 6 people. That's the core. But then we work as like we have like we call what we call peel network. So every time we do like production, then of course it builds way more. And then for like if we're doing any bigger projects, we have collaboration with a lot of people, so we can actually expand how it works. But big agencies here in Iceland are around 50 people, so that's the biggest one. So yeah.
Okay, and this peel network, I'm presuming it helps you like get the specific skill for specific need and specific project.
Yeah, and that's something that we definitely, when we started, when we created Peel in the beginning, we decided that we didn't want to have everything in-house, because it's quite often that if you talk to a bigger agencies, then they already have filled the seats in the meeting room before the client comes in, and then you are just hoping or forcing the client into what you are actually best at doing. So if you're really good at like traditional media, then you'll try to push your client towards that. We even felt it we have a really good animator with a specific type of animation that he prefers. Then we were trying to force the ideas and everything towards that. But we actually really want to have like an open table before we sit down with a client, and then we find the right people to work with us that fits the client. So even it doesn't matter if it's the production or animation design or web development or whatever. We don't want to have too much in the company itself. We want to have like the core understanding of the client, the key messaging, and the knowledge base is here with us. But then we also want to be able to work with agencies abroad. We want to have like local partners. And when we were doing some stuff for Greenland, then we needed to have like a person who was working with us from there. So it's we don't want to have everything internal.
Yeah, and with working with freelancers, what sort of feedback do you get? Do they like this type of collaboration, or they want to get to you in-house?
It really differs, and I think for us, if that was just a really small project, but like if we're talking about like Visit Iceland, I think it's really important to get like the outside perspective, like we had from both the US and the UK team that we work with. But we needed also to have like the creative the humor, the Icelandic humor needed to be real. We can't really do like thankfully Icelanders has a really strange humor in a way. We are like mix of Europe and then the US. So kind of we like to have like silly humor, but it's also way more dark than kind of would fit in the US quite often. So yeah, so we needed to have like that perspective, and even though the core idea is Icelandic, we needed also to figure out how we can make that relevant for Norway or for Denmark or for US or even yeah. So kind of we can't really try to say that we are expert in everything, but we are really good at working with experts. You can say that, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think it gives you a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
This is very forward way of going, and you already touched on humor, and I really love the Icelandic. This also like sort of awkwardness to the humor.
Yeah.
And it really fits my taste. But once again, we are looking at these tourism campaigns, and how do you ensure that campaign with a humor like works across diverse audiences and other countries where I don't know how Germans might take it or someone else?
Yeah, exactly. And that's definitely something that we kind of sometimes run into problems when we try to make it too global in a way. So kind of it's easy when you're in a way when you're promoting Iceland, kind of we can't be fake. So kind of we are just who we are. We are Iceland and we are Icelandic people, and kind of so kind of it doesn't matter if we're talking about kind of we don't Photoshop the images too much or anything like that. It needs to be real, and we have Icelandic actors and kind of the Icelandic humor. It needs to be authentic. So I think it's okay to not kind of be perfect kind of for Germany or perfect for Norway, but if you're true to yourself, it definitely kind of it shows in the material. So our approach is to have something that's relevant, but try to still use our type of humor in a way. I'm not sure, yeah. And we kind of we when we work with the agencies abroad and everything like that, we know what feels Icelandic and what doesn't. So, and even the client understands if it's not Icelandic, they don't want it. So some of the ideas that we maybe show might not work in all places, but I think we're all fine with it as long as we believe that it is actually kind of true to ourselves.
Yeah, and if it resonates, it resonates. And
yeah, exactly. And thankfully, kind of Icelandic people are also, we are a bit strange, and kind of we are like a small island in the middle of nowhere, and well, it's also really close to Europe and close to the US. So kind of we have way more mystery about us than kind of is actually needed, and we try to play with that definitely kind of and yeah, it's somehow Iceland is likable, so it's good for us to have that. And I think one of the reasons why we are kind of successful with our humor, we make fun of ourselves, not kind of other kind of, we try to make more fun of us than kind of making fun of something that we can control anyway. Yeah.
And you have some pretty bold campaigns. Not everyone is like, I wouldn't like to put in those words, but going after Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and this takes some courage. And I, working in agency myself, I can't imagine how that went down with a client.
Yeah, but just so it's clear, we were just creating a kind of agency on a campaign. It's Zach Mosbergsson, which is we were really clear that this wasn't Mark Zuckerberg. So kind of if he's offended, it's definitely not him. But I think that comes down to the trust, and that we had worked on many ideas before, and we were actually working on another campaign when this came up, and it was something that we felt we couldn't let go, and we decided to jump on the idea because we really liked it because it fits so well with our narrative. And thankfully, kind of like Mark Zuckerberg, he came to Iceland. He of course commented on it, and he came to Iceland and he used Icelandverse, and kind of it was a huge success, but it was easier sell than I think most people would think, because of the relationship with the client and how kind of they are actually a huge part in kind of working this way. So the client saw the kind of appeal to it right away, and I think it was harder for us to sell kind of our foreign partners that this would be approved than kind of for us to get the client to approve it. So yeah.
Oh, really interesting. And what was, on a personal level, your emotions when you saw these reactions from Mark Zuckerberg and also him coming to Iceland and just getting his attention?
I mean, it was yeah. So I think it's quite clear that kind of English isn't my first language, but I could just say it was awesome. It's probably way better words to say it, but it was quite funny because we did it really we felt that we really needed to do this quickly for it to be relevant, and we had long days and long nights to build this out, because we also have had limited funding for it, because this was like an extra thing that we are doing. So we had a really small team and we had to do it really quickly. So to be honest, I was just really tired when we got this out. And I was with the client, we were having a beer, and I was like, oh, sorry guys, I need to go home. I'm just so tired, I can't do anything more. And I was on my way home when they called me and told me that he replied to the message. So I just turned around right away and I didn't sleep for 2 days or something. So it was
call it energy boost.
yeah, it was the best thing to get, the energy needed for the next few days.
Is it something you were hoping for when you were creating it?
Yeah, it was definitely something that we were hoping for, and we had some people around him, or not really close to him, but we were definitely trying to make sure that he would see it, and we were, and I think a lot of stuff happens outside of the actual build of the campaigns, like when we have a good PR partner, they are definitely doing a lot of grunt work behind the scenes, and we are talking to our clients and the government, and we're definitely pulling on all the strings we can. And the Icelandic president has participated in a lot of the campaigns that we've done. So it's we need to think about this in a bigger way than just typical marketing campaign. So yeah.
Yeah, and you also touched on working with government. There must be their own challenges. What challenges you face the most?
So thankfully the bureaucracy here in Iceland isn't huge, or it's not it's definitely easier here in such a small country. And I know, and I felt that I felt a lot at home when I was in the Baltics, because you're also like a small country, and things are in a way some person who knows some person, and it can move differently than in a huge country, I think. And a lot of times people in Iceland, we need to make decisions that are even a little bit above our pay grade, or what you would you wouldn't expect like me to maybe make some decisions that it would have to go through 10 people in the US before you could decide. But we can actually do that here. And also with the government, they have a really clear vision, and they know who to talk to, and they can move things relatively quickly, at least. And the government is also they put their trust in our client, which is like a branch called Business Iceland. So they are definitely, and they've proven throughout the years that they are kind of they're doing a great job. So the government is always kind of giving them more and more trust. So it's getting easier and easier. And I mean, the president, he participated in a campaign with us, and kind of we actually have a new president now. We haven't worked with her, but I'm sure she would be really up for it if we would approach her with an idea that she would believe in.
Mhm. So you have built trust with the client, with the government, and it just expands.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also kind of we really how to say this kind of we really need to believe in what we are presenting and what we are putting out, and it's a huge also kind of thing for us to be like the Icelandic agency working for Iceland. It's both like a huge honor, but it's also like something that we really take seriously. And kind of promoting a country is, in a way bigger than promoting a product, because people get way more kind of invested in it. Also, kind of the people who see it, they kind of when I was talking to some kind of people at Baltic Brand Forum, they were always saying, well, everything we put out, kind of there's some negative voices, and and it's really hard not to kind of take that personally. And kind of even some kind of my mom actually asked me about some stuff that she heard in the local swimming pool, and kind of she was upset about something, and it's just it's closer to kind of people's hearts than kind of promoting a product. So you need to be really respectful, and you need to take this seriously what you're doing. Even though you're doing some silly stuff, you need to understand why you're doing it. It can't be just silly just to be silly.
Yeah, exactly. When it's about country, everyone has an opinion. And I think
Yeah,
this spring or summer, Vilnius, they made this campaign about expectations versus reality. And they showed
yeah.
this, Soviet style Vilnius. And it ended on a good note, but people were like really, really angry about it because they didn't like the perception, even in this
Yeah,
funny way. So
yeah,
this is a sensitive topic for society as a whole.
yeah. And I think kind of um, if you come at it from a respectful way, and you know in your heart, and you know kind of what that you built this kind of really thinking about it, and then you just need to be proud of what you did, and of course then take into consideration the next thing you're doing. But there's always going to be some negativity, and there's always going to be an expert who knows better than you, and kind of and it can be like a real expert, or just like a comment hero who thinks he knows better. But kind of you can't really take it too personally, and you just need to know that you're doing your best job, and kind of you have the best team kind of doing it. So yeah.
Yeah. And also, one very challenging thing I saw when I looked at your work, you worked with Iceland at the time at the COVID, where
Yeah,
you couldn't travel, but you needed
yeah,
to put out a travel destination.
yeah, exactly. And kind of I think the most difficult thing was that we had no idea how it would evolve, kind of. So we were always kind of both kind of course, COVID and everything, it was changing dramatically depending on kind of where in the world. Iceland was locked out, or kind of had a lockdown kind of in different time period, and sometimes you could fly from the US, sometimes from Europe, and sometimes nobody, and it was really difficult to kind of be focused and kind of have like a long-term strategy. So kind of what we actually kind of, when we're talking about this personal sustainability, we came up with this looks like you need Iceland, and we were trying to figure out how we could be relevant, even if you could come here. If not, we could offer different things to the world. So kind of we had this looks like you need to let it out. That was the screaming part, and we actually created that in the beginning when people kind of couldn't travel at all. So kind of we just felt, okay, we have all this open space, we have kind of country that is different than the rest, and um, we feel the world just needs some sort of kind of release. And so we offered people to scream, and we found like a report that screaming could actually help your kind of your mental state, and kind of when you're feeling upset or down, it's really good to scream and let out the frustration. So we just needed to find a clever way to kind of use Iceland to actually do that. And then maybe kind of closer, because I see also the adventure boot. We actually we decided that, okay, now Iceland is open, but kind of people are still a little bit afraid, and they're just stuck at home in their pajamas or whatever. Kind of like everybody had like their favorite sweatpants that they had been wearing for like 3 years, and you could actually take that kind of symbol of COVID, come to Iceland and get your adventure boots. So kind of we would actually kind of cut out your sweatpants and put them on boots, and kind of you could actually go out and have a real adventure. But it was we always try to figure out what kind of our target audience was looking for, not what we can actually offer. We never did like, okay, now we need to sell more group trips in Iceland. Kind of that's never been the focus. We're always trying to kind of reach out to people kind of from their perspective in a way.
Yeah. And did you see some increase in travelers after the COVID?
Yeah, I think kind of we even had kind of world records in a way. We had the fastest rebound of tourism when COVID was opened up again. But there kind of, I would love to say it's just because of our work, but it's not. Kind of the government also kind of, we were able to, because we are island, we were able to kind of have it a little bit more constrained here in Iceland. So kind of usually we didn't have a lockdown in Iceland. So kind of we could have the restaurants open, and you could go kind of, even though you couldn't fly abroad, you kind of life in Iceland was quite normal in a way. It was more normal for us than a lot of other places all over the world. And Iceland is of course famous for kind of nature and kind of clean air and energy, and kind of it was something that people really needed. They didn't want to go into a city kind of right after COVID. They needed like open spaces. They wanted to experience something real, and kind of it was definitely it was, yeah, we were lucky in that sense also. But it was great to see kind of results of the marketing kind of campaign, is that we actually saw like huge increase in kind of searches for Iceland when we were running the campaigns. And you could see like it was actually going kind of, you could connect it directly to campaigns that we did. And also like travel kind of intent, we were always focusing on that. And kind of even though they couldn't come here, we saw kind of travel intent going up. And yeah, and we're doing a lot of studies towards it. So we are also doing like analysis of kind of, we talk to people in the airport. We only have one, so it's easy kind of in a way. And we can see that these campaigns are actually helping a lot. But yeah, but it's not only marketing. It needs to, of course, kind of the final product needs to be good. But kind of, yeah, but we're definitely helping to expand the knowledge and kind of getting people to notice Iceland more.
Yeah, and once again, it shows the collaboration that you have talked about earlier, and it's a mix
exactly.
of things.
Yeah.
And for me, one of the favorite campaigns is Outhorse Your Email. As a strategist, I just wanted to ask you, what was the insight behind it, and how you came to this at first like absurd idea, but when you have it just makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. So kind of there, it was also the same. We were thinking kind of, we have a great kind of strategy team that we work with, mostly based in the US from the SSNK. And kind of when we were building the brief, it was always the same, kind of looking from kind of the client perspective and what we can offer. And one thing that we kind of noticed was that right after COVID, the people are starting traveling, but we saw a huge increase of people actually working while they were traveling than before COVID, because everything was now Zoom meetings and you had been working not from the office, so it was almost expected that even though you weren't in the office, you were still working. So so we noticed that we had like a report on seeing that I think it was like 40% more likely to be working on your holiday than before. So then we decided, okay, we need to do something to say, well, if you're in Iceland, just enjoy Iceland. Don't travel here and not explore or and just be working here. And then of course we tried to look at what Iceland is unique, what's unique about Iceland, and of course our horses are different than, we have a special breed here, and the Icelandic nation is really close. We have a lot of appreciation about our horses. They have helped us throughout the years, and we're really proud of them. So then we played with some ideas, and then it was just like it was a funny idea saying outhorse your email. And then we looked at, okay, what do we need to do for this to be relevant? And we actually, the first idea was just to have like a sheet that looked like a keyboard, but then we're like, okay, this is not a real story. This isn't PR worthy. This is just like a nice video. So we actually had to build the service for real. So we had Icelandic horses really stepping on keyboards and really writing out messages, and we traveled with it in all those locations that we shot. So that was the truth behind it that we needed to do. It wasn't. It was a really nice idea, but it's not PR worthy unless it's actually working.
Yeah, and I think that's also one of the things that ties together a lot of your campaigns. It's when digital meets physical.
Yeah.
This is something that you are like going for like very mindfully.
Yeah, definitely. It's we just feel it's stronger when you do something physical. If you're just doing like a really nice story that's got a great video online, and you can get people to share it, and you can it's great. I mean, we do a lot of those types of work also, but if we're really trying to get like PR worthy things, it needs to be something real. So like the speakers, you could actually really send in your screams and you would get like things back. The outhorse your email, we actually did that service. The sweatpant boots, we did that. You could actually come here. We had like a real store in Reykjavik where you could show up. We did like what else did we do? I have some images here. Oh, and of course Zuckerberg. And then we did like a campaign for doom scrolling. That was probably the smallest idea that we did, but doom scrolling was the word of the year 2022, I think. And we were just okay, that's not a good thing. Doom scrolling is an awful thing. So we created joy scroll. So we had there was a report saying people scroll through X amount of meters of websites. So we built the average type of doom scroll, and it was all just like nice things from Iceland. And we had like a sheep, and that turned into like woolen sweaters that we are so proud of. And yeah, so it always needs to be something true.
Yeah. Oh. And what is the most creative non-advertising project that you have done?
Non-advertising projects?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is there any?
Nothing that comes up. I mean, no. I mean, I've twice actually sent things up to space, or so that's maybe something, but it was for marketing purposes. But yeah, we did yeah. But I think that's probably the strangest things that I worked on, at least sending stuff into space and then collecting it again when it comes down to Iceland. Yeah.
Did you send out?
First time we sent out kind of a mobile phone when I was working for Samsung. So it was like we were working with a gaming company here. It's called CCP, which is a really big company here. And we were working with Samsung, and they had like a new robust phone, kind of that could withstand more cold and stuff like that. So we sent that up, and it was actually filming and streaming the whole time. So we worked with the telecommunication company, and they had like a retriever or sender, like a mobile kind of huge thing. And usually it's directing this way, but we actually got them to direct it into space. So we had like streaming services the whole time. And then we did it kind of a new campaign here also for Visit Iceland. It was called Mission Iceland. And we sent out like a huge, well, a really tiny billboard, but we were showing it in space. And the fun thing is kind of all the silly stuff that is actually happening while we're doing it. So we had to talk to like a it's like a service that helps people when you're stuck in the wilderness here in Iceland. And we actually had to we sent it up in Reykjavik, and it flew all over, kind of it went up, and then it came down like northeast of Iceland, which is like maybe 800 kilometers away or something like that. And we had to have like a really big snowmobile truck to collect the material, because we didn't want any rubbish left behind. So all of these silly things, and we had to like collaborate with Iceland Air and kind of the government for it, when we could release it, where we could release it, and there were storms happening. So it was a lot of kind of, it would have been way easier just to build the kind of the production team and kind of creating the video, but it wouldn't feel authentic, so it wouldn't work for us.
Yeah. Oh, this is such a cool story. I love just sending stuff to space because
it's fun. Yeah. And now
Yeah.
I'm an expert now. Kind of I have connection with all the right people to send some stuff into space. So kind of if you want to do it, just reach out.
Yeah, that I'll keep in mind.
Yeah.
And now wrapping up the Iceland part, we always have these 10 places you must visit when you go. What is the one place that you would recommend for anyone going to Iceland to visit?
So we're in Iceland, or are you saying that, or
Anything like maybe it's I don't know, some sort of happening, or it's a land,
oh yeah.
or it's what is like something
Yeah.
that couldn't be missed.
So definitely I need to kind of mention that we are actually we have a new client that's building an awesome lagoon here in close to the Golden Circle. So next summer it's called Laugarás Lagoon. That's going to be a really nice part. But kind of for me, I have always like a special connection with east of Iceland. It takes around maybe 8 hours to drive, about 15 minutes to fly. And kind of my grandparents used to live there. They had like a farm there, and it's a total different area than kind of rest of Iceland, because it's for some reason it's way greener. Kind of we have like a forest there. It's all kind of different. And we have like awesome mountains, and kind of I would always recommend going to the east of Iceland. And kind of we have great things kind of in the south that's more touristy, and then we have West Fjords, which is most I would say like it's most difficult to travel to, specifically in the winter. But yeah, I like more kind of challenging places to go to, not the most touristy things. That's the easy thing, and you can do that by a bus or whatever. But go a little bit further and explore a little bit kind of the real culture and real Iceland. And that's something I also want to do. Like when I travel, I really want to kind of experience something true, even though kind of Icelandic people always go to Tenerife, which is like the easiest way for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the easiest way for us to get sun. but that kind of the only direct flight to get sun in the winter. But I really like going into kind of different areas, and I definitely have it kind of a plan to go back to the Baltics because I've only been there once, and Riga was so different than what I actually thought it was going to be, and I'm so excited to kind of experience more and kind of it's probably just because I'm not really great at these things, but I for some reason I had I thought that kind of Latvian people or kind of the people from Baltic would be a little bit more closed off and kind of maybe a little bit harder to approach and talk to, but everyone was super nice, and kind of it changed my perspective definitely. So I'm definitely going back there.
No, that's nice to hear, and we welcome you here anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
And this sounds like a wrap up, but I already have some little quick questions that we have for each of our guests, so we can have sort of a library. And the first one is, which other brands do you admire and why?
Well, of course, I admire a lot of brands, but kind of for me, I tend to look at kind of the brands that feel more authentic and like not specifically brands, but some campaigns that I really love. It's like I think it was Oslo that did a campaign where kind of they were making fun of how small it is compared to kind of other parts and how easily accessible it was. And I even mentioned this when I was talking to somebody there in the Baltic Brands. I was a little bit upset that it wasn't an idea that we had, because it's so nice. It felt so genuine, and also kind of it was so simple, but I loved it. But then, of course, kind of I think companies and kind of brands that go further than having a really famous spokesperson or celebrity kind of with the ideas, and kind of are willing to show kind of some authenticity. Those are the ones that I connect to. So yeah, none really popping out, but yeah. I don't really like it when you have an idea that doesn't work unless you have a really famous person.
Yeah. So the concept of it.
Yeah.
Brand, yeah. And where do you get inspiration? Travel, podcasts, books, events?
Yeah, I'm really bad at podcasts. I look at YouTube, and that's my only podcast thing. But I think when you travel and work with different people all over the world, I think it opens up so many ideas and new ways of working. So I would definitely say that kind of my collaboration with people brings out the best work. So kind of, and that definitely gives me more than kind of looking at kind of podcasts or like other campaigns or whatever. I really like to hear kind of the stories behind it and talk to people who have different experiences and kind of different ways of thinking. So so like my main thing is like more of like a one-on-one, like a chat like this. I usually, even if I'm speaking, I learn just by kind of getting kind of your response and everything. So I think that's, at least for me, it's the collaboration that works.
Yeah, more about exposure than being the fly on a wall somewhere.
Yeah, and kind of at least because so often what you actually see, kind of the final product, it's a result of so many different things, and so it's quite often so much more behind it than you actually realize. It's like playing a sport. If you just look at golf or whatever, okay, you just swing the club and kind of trying to hit the hole. But then when you start thinking about, oh, you have all these different techniques, and you have kind of, if the ball is there, what blah blah something. I'm not a good golfer, just so it's clear, but I just really like kind of, there's so much more behind the actual thing that you're doing. So, and I feel that you quite often don't get that from reports or from like wrap up videos or whatever. You get it from talking to the people who are actually working there. So I love kind of meeting people like at the Baltic Brand Forum, just talking to kind of people who are doing all these different types of work, but they were all trying to do their best, and they had like different approaches to it, and that's how I learned the most, at least.
Mm. And now the final question: what is your moonshot goal? What would the ultimate success for you look like?
Wow. So can I be really dark? I would just like to die happy, but kind of
But that's actually like the ultimate goal.
yeah. So kind of I don't have like kind of ideal client or kind of anything in my work that I kind of, oh, I really want to do this. Kind of I'm more kind of, I just really want to do a good job from kind of when I'm working. And I mean, I have 2 kids and the wife and kind of yeah. So it's a huge question, but if I'm happy when I die and people think fondly of me, then kind of I think I've done a good job.
Live a good life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for
Of course.
Insights and just this lively conversation. I met you for the first time, but this was like very friendly and insightful conversation, and I appreciate that.
Perfect. Yeah, and again, just thanks for having me, and yeah, I can't wait to visit again.